In the beginning of this year, information about the possibility of UFOs in our airspace became flooded in our news cycle, social media, and every dinner conversation. However hot this topic was, or is right now, the origins of ufology, the study of UFOs, goes way further back than the Chinese weather balloon over Billings, Montana.
A high-altitude surveillance balloon.
The extraterrestrial hypothesis proposes that some unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, could be best explained as a physical aircraft operated by extraterrestrial intelligence, non-human aliens, or non-occupied alien probes from other planets.
My name is George Eberhart. I'm retired. I have been a librarian and a journalist. The Center for UFO Studies, CUFOS, is a organization of civilians. Anybody that is interested can join us in finding out what the answer to the UFO question is. What is the UFO phenomenon? It deserves some scientific study. It deserves to be preserved. We do have a huge number of cases that we've investigated. The history of the UFO phenomenon is just as important as finding out what it is.
What is the history, and how did we get here? What can learning about our past teach us about the current UFO situation we're in?
In 1947, when there was a large wave of flying discs, as they were first called, everybody was seeing them in the West, in the East, in the Midwest. The Air Force kept getting asked questions. What are these? Are these yours? Are they the Navy's? What's going on? Are they Russian? And so the Air Force was asked to look into what these flying discs, flying saucers were. And they initiated a project called Project Sign at first in 1947 to look into all this. It didn't really get going until 1948. There were a number of people who thought that they could be extraterrestrials. There are other people that say, no, that's crazy. They got rid of the people that were in favor of the alien hypothesis, and they renamed the project Project Grudge. They didn't do anything until 1951. They initiated Project Blue Book. The CIA convened a panel. The panel came up with some recommendations that ultimately the Air Force took as being, well, we're going to look at stuff, we're going to issue these reports, and we're going to say there's nothing to worry about. That's what Project Blue Book did until the Air Force got entirely sick of this around 1968, and they contracted with the University of Colorado to conduct a scientific survey of UFOs. But it was a wipe, and they came out with a report in 68, late 68, that said, yeah, don't worry about this, there's nothing to UFOs, they're not aliens, it's anything but. The Air Force got out of the business, no more Project Blue Book, and that's actually when the Center for UFO Studies was started right after that in 1973, because the astronomical consultant for Project Blue Book, Dr. J. Allen Hynek, said, yeah, I think there is something to UFOs. Let's set up a civilian agency to look into reports. And so he did, and that's where we are now.
Another civilian organization that has worked with the military, CUFOS, and other organizations is MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network.
I've been on the board of MUFON now for 20 years or so. My name is Rob Swiateck, and I am retired at the moment, but I've been retired for a few years. But my background, real briefly, I'm a physicist, and I worked at the United States Patent and Trademark Office for my career. MUFON, it grew out of an earlier organization that encompassed investigators in all 50 states back in the late 1960s and 1950s. And MUFON sort of split off from that organization in 1969. Basically, it's an organization of people who are investigating UFO sightings.
What makes people and organizations so interested in this topic? And what all does ufology encompass?
It's just the study of the UFO phenomenon in all its various manifestations, whether it be sighting reports, whether it be analysis of UFO photographs, or analysis of material that might be left behind after a UFO is seen at a certain site, all encompass what we would call ufology. And we try to do it from a scientific point of view. The UFO subject is very complex. There's many parts and components to it. But it is important to, as we would say, do your homework on the subject. It's not wise to just make broad brush statements like, oh, people just don't know what they're seeing in the sky when they go out and they look at things. So you can be assured that if these things were really alien spacecraft of some type or manifestations of alien intelligence, real scientists and the government would know about it. Well, it's not quite that simple. You just have to go back and put the time into it to start getting a grasp as to what some of the components are, and then you're better able to speak about this and then make conclusions coming from a point of some learning.
Regardless of what you may believe, it seems that research, questioning, and the truth are the driving forces for many in this community. Passions aside, what can science and practical application teach us about what might be out there?
In all technical terms, UFOs do exist. Many things are in the sky that we don't understand.